Hey guys, so in this video we're going to go over my version of the Frostclaw Nova Sorcerer. So this build is pretty similar to the Static Orb Lightning Blast Sorcerer, except that we're just using Frostclaw and Elemental Nova. So with this build, really good speed farmer, and we do still have to use Lightning Blast for single target. So I guess we do have almost the same single target as the Static Orb version, so you can go blast T4 Julra, kill her pretty quickly. And you can play this version on the low life setup that I was using before, as well as with a setup like this using a Twisted Heart. I'm pretty much not doing low life. So this video I'll cover the non-low life setup, because I already covered that in the Static Orb version, but I'll have planners for both setups. You can go check out and see which one you want to play. Alright, so first of all, let's jump into some gameplay. We do have a boss ready, so we'll go do the boss, and then we'll do, what should we do? Let's do the Imperial War Camp at 1100 Corruption. There's going to be a lot of ways to set it up in gear. I'll cover all of the different gear options, but the way I have it set up now is kind of a mix of, I don't know, it's just basically trying to get a lot of AoE. You can see my Novas have quite a lot of AoE. And you probably get more if you wanted, but anyways, so let's just go clear the map. And since we are playing a Heart build, I'm actually a little bit disappointed with the Heart, what do you call it, ward. I've found it very hard to get over 7k ward with the Heart setup. So, I don't know, on the low life setup I'm like 7 to 8k ward normally. But with this, very rarely going over 7k, so... And that's with, how much we have? We have a little bit less, 480 ward retention. But still, I think, I don't know, it seems like a little bit low. But anyways, let's just go and run the Monolith. You could probably get more if you have, better gear and that kind of stuff. But yeah, we just keep going, and I like Flame Rush because it gives Frenzy, so just using that. But you can use Teleport or whatever. And yeah, so we just go and blast everything, even at this high corruption, completely deleting the monoliths 2 screens away, 10 screens away. Anyways, oh, this one has a lot of rare mobs. Nice, we'll get a lot of favor and a lot of screen lag. But also, so I'm spec into full int everywhere, so my boots don't have movement speed. So I would probably actually just go get a pair of boots with movement speed. For regular gameplay, and only put int boots on when doing a boss. But anyways, it's kind of what it is, and I don't really want to make a new pair of boots because I probably will just play the low life version at the end. Anyways, so this is kind of what the gameplay is. Extremely good coverage. You can see we're just going crazy. Cast speed is actually pretty good too. 266% increased cast speed. We're at, well, 88% crit chance, 400 crit multi, so pretty decent stats, I would say. Anyways, let's go check out what a boss would look like at 1100 corruption. Alright, so we're going to do the same boss again. Don't really think we want to do the Harbinger because he's going to take a little bit of time. But, I mean, you can kill him, but it's just a little bit annoying. So, I guess we can try with Frostclaw a little bit, but I don't think it's actually going to be, really good. So this version right now, I'm playing with the static shell. So it's actually, how would you say, pretty decent, pretty tanky. I end up having about 60% to 70% damage mitigation from armor. Actually, well, Frostclaw is leading these guys. What is going on? I guess because there's so many of them, but anyways, we'll just finish the last guy off with our Lightning Blast. Oh man, that's close. Alright, I got him. Damn, actually Frostclaw completely deleting these guys. What's going on? Alright, so let's get into the character, how we're building it. So, I think we start off with Frostclaw. How are we doing the mana? So you can see my mana cost right now, 8.7. You see in the gameplay, actually no real mana problems. Even though I think if I just hold down Frostclaw, I will probably eventually run out of mana, maybe. It seems okay. So, pretty stable mana at around 8.7 to 9 mana, and I'm using a 14% idle, but I don't really think you need a 14%. We'll try with 13%. and it still seems to be the same. Oh, we actually are kind of losing quite a bit more. Oh, it is the same actually, 8.7. So I don't really think you really need this. But anyways, you can probably go, someone else could probably figure out the exact cost for this. Anyways, it's just what I'm running, right? So one of these idols, without this idol, I noticed it is a little bit rough sometimes on the mana cost. You see we are actually starting to drain mana quite a bit now. Well, I mean, it's still playable, I guess, but you will eventually run out of mana and you will have to rely on, you know, potion mana sustain, and that's not really ideal, I think. Anyways, so that's that. And then for the actual Frostclaw tree, we are grabbing everything here. We're not going into Volley of Glass. This build is more focused on getting Elemental Nova to apply the spark charges. Okay, so one more thing for the mana is that you notice that I have 300 mana here. This is actually very important because we are going to be using the Archmage node in Sorcerer, which gives us a 20% chance to refund 35% of the mana cost. And with 300 mana, that gets doubled. So if I wasn't at 300 mana, I would actually start to have mana issues. And that's why I tried this on a Rune Master, and the Rune Master was having mana issues because he doesn't have this node. And I did even try with 2 of these idols over here and like getting up to like what 16 or 17 just flat mana regen to see how it works, but he was having mana issues even with that. So I think you might need to do some other things with Brewmaster, but with Sorcerer it's quite a lot simpler. We just get 300 mana, have one of these idols, and we're good to go. Alright, so make sure your mana is up to 300. There's a lot of ways to do it. You can use mana idols, you can get mana on these things here, like, you know, up to like what, 12% mana on these idols. I'm even spec'd into this mana well node here to give me 15% more mana. You can use another chest like the unstable core. This is a very good option as well. This will basically fix your mana pretty much, and give you quite a lot of levels to, you know, your Frostclaw and your Elemental Nova. So pretty nice. This is like another 3 levels to Elemental Nova, right? Because you can then spec into the fire node for free pretty much. So Frostclaw, we kind of went over it, and we would like to say that you do want to be a sort of high level to play this build. I would say at least level 90-ish maybe, because, you know, we do need a lot of skill points and gear, right? So I mean, technically, as long as you can actually get to this node, you can start playing the build. So there'll be progression sliders and stuff like that, but I do recommend you have a fairly high level character before you actually start to play this. There isn't really much to talk about for the Frostclaw tree, just kind of follow along pretty much. Level 22 Frostclaw is pretty much because we have the heart and the fragment of the Enigma giving us +2 to all lightning pretty much. Let's see, Elemental Nova, we need to first reduce the mana cost to 0, and the way we're doing that is this node over here. And then after that, so there's 2 setups I think that we should go over. First of all is, you see my Nova is level 28. I mean, I'm missing a level because I de-leveled it, but it's level 28 because I'm using Crest of Unity. This gives me up to +6 to Elemental Nova, and you see I have a +2 Lightning Blast on here, but and that's because I want Lightning Blast to actually have good single target. We'll cover that with Lightning Blast when we go over the Lightning Blast skill, but if you want to focus purely on Frostclaw, then and you could skip, you know, you don't really care that much about your Lightning Blast DPS, then I would put a +2 to Elemental Nova on here, because that would allow you to actually get even more area of effect. You'd get 2 more points into the Arcane, whatever this node here. So that's kind of up to you, whichever one you want to do. But yeah, Crest of Unity, really nice helm, because we get, you know, levels to Elemental Nova, we get area to Nova, we also get up to 18% less damage taken from, you know, shocked, ignited, or chilled enemies, which is pretty much everything. So very nice helm. The other option would be the Dominance of the Tundra. This, in combination with Static Shell, is going to get you to pretty much 80% damage reduction from armor. So you're going to be super tanky. Right now, I think, because this gives me, what, 170% more armor against shocked enemies. So right now I have 2k armor, so this is like, what, 6-7k armor, pretty much, against shocked enemies. Anyways, probably math a little bit wrong, but you get the idea. You get a lot of armor from this. And in combination with the flat armor you get on this, it's pretty insane. This also does fix your crit damage mitigation, so one thing to keep in mind. I like the Crest of Unity because it allows me to actually get all this area, and if you don't use Crest of Unity, you pretty much just can't go into these overcharge nodes. I'm missing 1 point here because I removed it on accident, but you should have 5 points here. So this is pretty big. I like this. It's huge AoE, and like the more AoE you have, the more chances you have for Nova to overlap on enemies and apply to spark charges, right? So that's pretty much the Elemental Nova skill. If you don't have Crest Unity, you get rid of this and you spec into these 2 nodes here. Okay, Flame Rush, you can kind of do whatever you want here. This is a kind of bonus skill. Do whatever you want. I like the Flame Rush just because of the Frenzy, pretty much giving me cast speed. You know, the more cast speed you have, the more Novas you're going to proc. So I think it's, you know, you should aim to have at least 250 cast speed or so. Okay, Flame Ward. Then we have our defensive skill set up over here. This time around, so I'm not using teleport for stun immunity. I'm actually spec'd into the Astonish node. So if we take a big hit, we're going to get stunned, and then Flame Ward will proc, and it'll protect you against like shotgun attacks and that kind of stuff. So kind of nice. And then Lightning Blast. This is the exact same setup from the other video I put out for the what do you call it, static orb build. But with Lightning Blast, we already kind of covered the convergence node, but quickly touch on it. Just remember it rounds up, so you always want to be on an odd number of chains, because it's the exact same thing as being on an even number. So 7 and 8 is exactly the same amount of chains. And then after that, we just go into the spark charge area. And so if you are gonna do a +2 elemental nova on your helmet, then you pretty much lose 1 point here and 1 point here. So you basically lose the quadruple cast chance. So not the end of the world. I mean, this is pretty big for a single target DPS, but I think even without these two, you still will pretty much melt bosses. So up to you which one you decide to get. I'm actually kind of regretting that I got a Lightning Blast on it, and I might make a new one with Elemental Nova, just so I can have both. But anyways. Okay, so and that's the skills, and then let's go over the gear. Okay, so for the wand, we're going to use the Mad Alchemist Ladle, and for a cheaper setup, all you really need is the cast speed and then the crit multi. And shock is okay. You either get shock, chill, or blind. That's the 3 kind of ailments you want on the wand. If you can get one of those, it's good. For the static shell, we want int, and then I have armor here, but it's kind of a fail. I wanted to get health, so you want to get increased health here. Because the more health we have, the more ward we're going to generate with the heart, pretty much. Okay, and then for the fragment, basically you can either get crit multi or cast speed. I think you should try to get around, 400-ish% crit multi. Right, so that's why I have crit multi here, because I have cast speed on the wand. I also have another one here, but anyways, I like having more cast speed. So and then cast speed, I would probably if you're on a 2 LP, I'll try to get a resistance, so probably you get your void res here, because there isn't really that many places to get resistance. As you see, every single item is pretty much a unique item. And then for the amulet, you could get crit multi here, but I think you're going to be lacking on spell crit, pretty much. So that's why I went for the spell crit. It's also cheaper, and we have quite a lot of crit multi already, I think. So, and then you need to get Fizz Res. That's why I'm using a Bone Amulet. So this fixes your Fizz Res. You can see without the amulet, yeah, this basically is where you get your Fizz Res, because there isn't really anywhere else to get it, and you don't want to be slamming Fizz Res on something like the Ocean Ring, right? Okay, so the rings, Crab Ring, once again, I really like this, right? Because you see our movement speed's pretty bad, and this would be better. It would be about 80%. No, it would be like 90% movement speed if you had a T7 movement speed on your boots, which you could definitely do, because see, already at 214 int, so you could easily drop some int for faster clear. So I probably will do that anyways. Okay, so that's why I like the Crab Ring, because 20 extra movement speed, pretty big, right? And then on top of that, it does give you +6 int. So, okay, so and then for the belt, we're gonna use the Orion's Descent belt with the because of the int pretty much. Also, the smite procs are pretty big. 6 smites pretty much instantly whenever you use a potion is pretty OP for applying spark charges or ailments and that kind of stuff. So pretty nice. And then for the affixes here, you want I think you probably just go for hybrid health. I'm kind of cheap, so I went for the increased health because yeah, I'm gonna play the low life build, so I don't really wanted to spend too much on this setup. But anyways, so you go for the increased health, and then for hybrid health, and then for the ocean ring, yeah, int, or if you want to get a red ring set up going, then you are going to need to get your chill somewhere, I think, because I think we have shock on the tree currently. 6% chance to shock, right? So you probably want to get shock somewhere if you do get the red rings, right? So you'll have to figure out something and maybe get it on. I mean, I have shock on the wand, so it's something you need to keep in mind, that you will need to get chill or shock or something like that to make sure you cap out your wand and you're getting up to 8 negative ailments on the target. Okay, so the gloves are going to be the Grasp of the Blood Mage. The reason for these is for the spell crit. I'm not really sure how bad this, the downside of the 250% of mana spent reflected to as damage is, and maybe this is why it's hard to actually get a lot of ward, but this is probably the best way to get your spell crit, aside from using a Prismatic Gaze. So either that or you have to use the Phantom Ring. So either way, you need to get your spell crit or the flat spell crit, and I'm doing it with the gloves, but if you want to use a different pair of gloves, then you would have to replace the helmet with the Prismatic Gaze or get the Phantom Rings, right? So whichever way you do it, get your base crit, because you can see without these, I'm all the way at 47% base crit. So that's why these gloves or the base crit is important. And the other plus is the 24% of hit damage from bosses and rares is dealt over 4 seconds instead. So that's pretty big for increasing your max hit against bosses and rares. It's pretty nice. And for the boots, the Blood of the Exile, of course. There's no other pair of boots you would want. And you probably should get movement speed. I'm just going to say it's good to have 2 pairs. So if you have 2 pairs, it's nice. One with the int and then one with the movement speed. So when you're mapping, you can just use the movement speed ones. And then when you go into a boss, then you can just put these on, because you don't really need that much movement speed on bosses, I think. Okay, and then the relic is a Twisted Heart. All you really need is int here. Then if you can get cast speed on it would be nice, or health. I would say cast speed or health. For you definitely want to get 2,500 if you can. 3k life. I don't even know if you can get 3k life, but if you could, would be very good, because then you'll be generating quite a lot more ward for the Twisted Heart. Okay, so that is the gear, and then some other gear you can use. The Unstable Core, like we mentioned, this one really good if you're having mana problems, right? So we need to be at 300 mana. So if you just can't get idols with mana, or you don't want to spend points on the tree, because you could actually go and just put points into mana here, right? You don't want to do that. Then just use Unstable Core, and as long as you're at 300 mana, you should be fine. So. Let's go over the idol setup. We need 1 idol with Frostclaw. I don't really think it needs to be a max roll. You do want to be at around, I think, under 9 or under mana for Frostclaw. So someone can do the math on that, I guess. But anyways, and then I'm just using a bunch of these small idols with like health and mana, ward retention, mana, that kind of stuff. And then a lot of these health and ward retention and ward per second idols. And then I have 1 cast speed with Lightning Aegis, but this is only really active when I use my Lightning Blast, and I'm only using this because it has 13 all-res, and I'm kind of lazy to go buy a new idol, but ideally you have another one of these idols, something like this, right? So you're just full health idols to get as much ward as we can from the Twisted Heart. Okay, so that's it for the idols. This one here is just some Void Res, because I am kind of lacking on Void Res. Alright, and then you notice I don't even have Necrotic and Poison, and if you wanted, you could get some idols with that to fix that, and I don't really think Poison is a problem, so I haven't really done anything about that, but you could probably get some items with Poison Res if you want. Okay, passives, Mage Tree, this is what it is. Sorcerer, let's see, so one thing that I'm doing a little bit different is I am trying the Distant Spark you don't really need to use these, but I noticed that these are actually pretty big for DPS, because it's an AoE spell, so when this procs, it'll hit everything around it, and this has a chance, of course, to apply Spark Charge. I mean, it's a very small chance, like 11% chance, but it does contribute to additional hits, right? And then Spark Charges can crit and then proc this, right? So the clear felt really good with this, actually, because it just, if you hit a pack of monsters with the Nova, right, it's like 2 Novas overlap, and they both crit and they both proc this, and then like 10 different mobs all get hit by the Spark Novas, right? And then it just like shotguns everything, and everything just blows up. So pretty nice for DPS, but if you don't, you don't really care about these, then I would take these out, and you could put some more points into like the crit over here, or you can go to some more cast speed, or go to cooldown reduction, right, and all that kind of stuff. So this one's a little bit optional. Archmage, this is what we need. We need this for the mana sustain, and then mana well, this is optional, but I'm using it to fix my mana so I get over 300. And then in the Rune Master tree here, this is kind of what it is. Nothing real special, just picking up the Sphere of Protection, the cast speed, the int, and like the int bonuses, and then the crit multi. Okay, and then for the blessings, this is actually the same blessings as my other static orc build, but we get the crit multi, we get the lightning res shred, all resistances, and then increased armor, and then flat armor. Alright, so that is the build, guys. There'll be planners for both a low life version and the Twisted Heart version for you to check out. But yeah, actually really enjoying the build, and surprised that it's actually working pretty good at this like level of corruption, and probably can go quite a bit higher. I think maybe even up to 1,500 plus, maybe even more. As for which version I like the best, I enjoyed the low life version because it generally had a higher ward. This heart version, like I said, it's pretty hard to get over 7k ward, at least in my current setup. And with the low life setup, with almost the same kind of gear, even less life, my low life setup only had 1,700 life. I was getting around a stable like 7,500 to 8,000 ward. And then, yeah, so if I had 2k life, that'd be easily over 8,500. So the ward sustain on average for the low life setup did seem quite a bit better. We also do get access to the Shattered Worlds relic for perma haste. We get to use gloves. I'm using the new gloves from the what's called Uberroth. So I get the 30% less hit damage pretty much from the bosses. So going for the low life setup does have quite a lot of good benefits, I would say. Alright, but that's going to be it for the video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.